Hey everyone, welcome to today's live. My name is Lunta Di La Paulo. I'm the managing director of Yetu Accounting and Tax PLLC. I'm excited to have you today joining us for another incredible live, incredible moment that we're going to be spending here together talking about the hidden risks that we are seeing in small businesses across the US and in fact across the world. And I want to spend the next 30 and perhaps 40 minutes talking about some of these risks that could literally break apart your company. Okay? So last week, we began our conversation around revenue. What are the hidden risks? What are the problems that we are seeing in small businesses in revenue and in their client base? Okay, so today, what we're going to be talking about is on the operation side. And I wanna be able to spend the next 30 minutes, as I said, talking about operations today. Okay, so just a quick recap. Last week, we saw the hidden risks in sales, in revenue, and client base. So we looked at different problems that oftentimes are brewing underneath revenue client base that business owners are not able to see, and suddenly they are hit with a major issue or a major problem and they don't know what to do with it. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead, watch it while it's still there, and hopefully it's gonna be able to help you um, figure out other better approach for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here with us to help us begin our presentation then. Excuse me. Okay, so as I said, we're gonna be, as always, we like to begin talking about what are our observations in the marketplace, right? What are we seeing from business owners across the US? And in some cases, we're seeing similar patterns internationally as well. And then we're gonna talk about why this is important, why this matter, and then we're going to wrap up this conversation with what's next from here. What should you be doing as a business owner to avoid or to address these risks? Okay. So, what are we seeing in the market right now is that a lot of, or a vast majority of small businesses across the board, they lack processes, they lack systems in place that helps their business continue in their absence. So essentially, very often we are finding business owners who literally knows everything around their business in their own head. There's nothing written, there is no SOPs, there is nothing documented. Today it's even easier to help business owner begin documenting their processes, their companies, their how they serve their clients and so forth. And because of this lack of documentations of processes and systems, we're seeing business owner, and not only us, you know, as outside observers who are analyzing this company, identifying this problem as a problem, but the business owners themselves, they understand, they know that this is a serious problem, especially when it comes to delegating what they do, what they know. When they become heel, very often, very few other people know how to do exactly the type of work they do, and it impedes the business from scaling. The other thing that we are finding in the marketplace among business owners, small business owners, and even in to some extent, we're also seeing similar issues with mid-sized businesses, is over dependence on key employee, key people, key vendors, key clients. Okay, and once one of these key figures or star leaves the company, the operations tend to fall apart. Somebody who's been in the business doing it for over 10 years, maybe helping you as the business owner. Once they leave, nobody else really knows how to run things in your absence. And that's, by the way, one of the major red flags, honestly, because when we advise investors or buyers in the market looking to invest in companies or buying companies, that's one of these things that we are very skeptical. When we see unhealthy dependency in business, whether it's vendor, clients, or even the staff inside the company. So many people are building their companies with very difficult and challenging dependencies. So that's one thing that you as a business owner really need to be thinking about. Okay, as if you plan to sell the company one day or even leave it to your children, whichever way you plan to exit from the business, it's really critical that you pay attention to these issues that we're seeing in the marketplace. We're also seeing many businesses, despite the vast adoption of technology across businesses in the US, they still have a lot of manual stuff, a lot of manual tasks, a lot of repetitive tasks that could have been automated, that could have been, done more easily through softwares or technology in general, but we still see significant human involvement. Not that human involvement is wrong, but very often human involvement means more likelihood to seeing mistake and the consumption of significant man hours, right? That ends up affecting actually the output in the production process. So the as a business owner, it's really critical that you have this sense, this understanding of your company, how your operations actually look like, and and make sure you actually know, okay, what gaps do we have right now that could be impacting our bottom line, because people don't think about operations for small businesses or for service businesses, that is the predominant sector in our economy today, right? Often people think about operations when it comes to manufacturing, factories and so forth, right? But in the truth of the matter is, operations is every part in our lives. It's the key function, one of the key function of every single business. There is no way to create value to clients, to businesses, without a sound operations function. Operation is how we create value for businesses. Operations is how we deliver, okay, that value to small businesses, to clients, to communities, to the world out there, right? So the next item that I want us to look at is, we're looking at small businesses with very poor cost control in their daily operations. A lot of businesses are even really good at selling, bringing new clients, but oftentimes that sales doesn't translate into cash flow. And we know that because we see many businesses with significant cash flow issues. They are not able to pay their bills when their bills are due, and things begin looking really challenging for them. So it's really important that you as a business owner, you're paying attention to where is the disconnect between our sales and our operations. Is our operation delivering the type of results we need to maintain the level of sale we have in the business? Okay, so by doing so, right, by doing so, when operations are broken, when operations are inefficient, right, the result is low productivity, obviously. And we are also seeing the lower level of production largely driven by outdated tools, outdated technology, and clear roles, right? People who don't know exactly what they should be doing, okay? People, employee in the company whose jobs are not very well defined. So as a business owner, it's critical that you understand that even when you are adopting technology, okay, even when you are adopting technology, it doesn't, you shouldn't be deploying technology because it works for, your friend from the country club. You shouldn't be deploying the same or similar technology because somebody called you and they sold you on the merits of that technology, about the wonders of that technology for other firms similar to yours. An adoption of technology needs to be driven by internal requirement, the internal needs of the company, right? You identify the problem in the company, a challenge in the company. Can we do this better? Sure. Okay. What technology, what tools out there in the market that can help us save money, reduce the amount of hours we do this, reduce the amount of human effort we put towards this, and more importantly, give us a higher above return for our money if we take this type of approach. So a really critical, really essential element. Another issue that another a challenge, right, that we are often finding in the marketplace is the fact that many small businesses are literally running in the blind, right? They don't have KPIs. They don't track performance of the company. In not only they don't have that, even for those businesses who do have them, right, they don't have these KPIs on time. They don't have this KPI in a way that can be relied upon to make critical business decisions. So, as a business owner, it's really key that you know your numbers, you understand your numbers, not only from the financial perspective, but also from the marketing perspective, your operational perspective, so that when you're looking at your company, you have an entire picture of where the business has been, where the business is today, and where the business is heading towards. So if you're not doing that, if you're not taking time to really understand your company, to look at your company from a third party uh, perspective, you could be unfortunately missing or identifying on time some of these hidden risks that we began talking about since last week. So as a business owner, it's really critical that you have a good sense of this. Now, why what we're sharing with you in this webinar in particular matter? Number one, we're looking at this from the valuation perspective. This is this is what most of us professionals have known for some times. Most businesses have an inaccurate understanding of their business value. And because of that, what we see often is that the business owner is often looking at their sweat equity into the business, but they're not looking at the value of the business from an outsider perspective, right? So most businesses, unfortunately, end up you know being valued at the lower end because of their operations. It's not organized, is inefficient, is ineffective, has in fact, in some companies operations actually reduce the value of the brand because it's not organized in the way that creates value, in a way that outside or serious buyers or investors will look into that company and say, "Man, I want to be part of this. I want to be involved with this. This runs really clean. This runs really great. This is a well-oiled machine that I'd love to have a piece of it, right? But unfortunately, that's not what we see often. And another element that we often see is, this is really important that we pay attention to operations, because if you don't have really great operations, even if you can sell, you know if you're good in sales, you're not going to be able to scale, because the errors, the delays will affect the quality and the brand reputation. Training employees is going to be, and I believe you're watching us, has been chaotic, right? Because there isn't really a process for doing anything in the company, and things gets expensive because every time you have to, essentially reinvent the wheel, right? Reinvent the wheel. So that's not necessarily how great companies are run. What we know that about great companies, great businesses that survive, that outlive the lives of their founders, is that great businesses are run on good documentation, on reliable documentation, are run on effective, efficient, cost effective quality control processes and consistency. If you're not consistent around how you create, manage, and deliver value to your clients, you're gonna be in really challenging position when it comes to, you know whether you think about growing the business, and at some point, you want to sell it, or you want to pass it to your children, or you just want to grow it for the sake of growing it to give you significantly more income. If you're not, really building a company with documented processes and systems, right? Roles and functions, if you're not documenting, these elements of your business, how we hire new talent, how we recruit new talent, how we train, how we develop these people, how do we attract new client, how do we hold meetings with, this prospect, to the point of converting them to client. What happens once they come to the door, who does what, how this, what is being done. You're not really building a business that is going to last for a long period of time. So my recommendation to you is really, investing in documenting the business process, right? So that we can have a little bit more consistency, and that consistency is improved upon day after day, so that we are in our journey to becoming efficient, right? Every process have to be evaluated from the perspective of cost benefit analysis, right? If it's very expensive to document your process, you really need to think about what are the cheaper ways to doing that. All right, so that's very important. And another reason this is so critical is because, right, when we look at over dependency, we're looking at, the element of risk. Um, if you rely too much on a single stakeholder to a point that they become a critical element in the company, right, your business automatically becomes riskier, and investors don't like that, bankers don't like that. If you're looking for, a loan, they're going to be looking at a lot of things in your business, and one of them is going to be whether there is any unhealthy over dependency on an employee or a few employees, or on yourself, the owners, a vendor, right, a supplier, or a particular groups of clients. Okay, and if you're not doing that, if you're not paying attention to these kind of problem, right, you are exposing your company, you're leaving yourself vulnerable, to the point that, at any point your business can essentially be negatively impacted, right? So you need to think about the consequences of this, because if at the moment somebody, quits, or walks away, or becomes sick, or is unable to perform to the level that the operations need to the level of performance for it to be running the way it should be, right? The business becomes very risky, right? When these people leave, there is a knowledge redundancy, right? So that institutional memory is fragilized, and your business is really exposed. So you would be doing a disservice if you're not reducing over dependency in your company. So, what we know about great businesses, again, is that great businesses are run on processes and systems. They are not people dependent, right? If you look at some of the great companies we have in the US, McDonald's doesn't need certain type of people to be effective, right? To be run very well. It has great processes and system, and that's all, right? You can put anybody from any country in the face of the planet, with or without education, is capable of creating value for McDonald's clients. So that's the type of business that we're really thinking about when we think about businesses that are worth your time as a business owner. So if you're not investing on your operations, this is the time that you might need to be looking at. Some of the business we know are in serious problem, in serious trouble, because they lack an understanding of their cost structure. Okay, they do not understand their cost structure. The owners are heavily focused on how we make more money, how we bring more clients, but they don't understand that the money is leaking at in the backhand, right? The owner doesn't understand the true cost of production. They have no idea what portion of running the business is fixed, what portion is variable, what portion is mixed, and more importantly, what costs we have here in this company that are absolutely necessary, and what costs are just the nice to have things that me as the owner has been putting the money of the business in, and therefore dragging down the profitability of the company. Where do we have waste? Where do we have, how well are we using our people to do the work of the company and not just sitting around, not doing anything? How well are we negotiating with vendors to find better deals for the company, right? So all these element, right, leads us to the understanding that healthy businesses are constantly reviewing their gross margins by product or service, by line of products, and implementing budget discipline and holding employees accountable for results. I'm gonna repeat that because I believe this is so critical, this is so important. Healthy businesses are constantly reviewing their gross margins by product, by service, or by line, and implementing a budgeting discipline and holding their employees accountable for results. There's a lot that could be unpacked there, but here's what I'd like you to take as potential key ideas here in this slide is the fact that if you only look at your profit and loss statement as revenue less expenses, and this is my net operating income or loss, you are not understanding what's happening in your company. You really need to get to a place where you understand what lines of service, product, or offering is generating what income or costing us what expenses, and whether or not we are profitable servicing this offer, right? And we have a budget that we follow with a military execution, right? Very pragmatic with our budget, and we are making sure that it's being implemented as we intended it to be. And we have people involved in this process. They know their goals, they know why we hire them for, and we are holding them accountable for the results that they should be bringing to the company. And when they don't bring these results, we need to have this conversation to understand what went wrong, how we can help you, right? That's very important. That's key. That's really critical. But unfortunately, we're not seeing that among many small businesses. Last but not least, the lack of key performance indicators. This is big. This is incredibly important for you as a business owner. If you don't understand some of the critical KPIs, you're just flying in the blind and making decision based on your gut feeling. I understand some of you folks believe that your gut feeling, your emotion, your six or seven sense, you know, you've relied upon it to make decision, and you've made some great decision based on your gut feeling. But trust me, data beats it all the time. Data beats it all the time. You gotta have data that you can contrast, that you can compare, that you can dig in to understand the business, right? And the KPIs are there exactly to facilitate this kind of conversation. Without KPIs, it's almost impossible to understand your business. Okay, it's impossible to understand the business. At minimum, great business monitor not only have, but they also monitor their KPIs. And I'm just gonna give you three of them: cost per unit, how much it costs you to produce a unit, to serve one client, what return on investment, return on equity that you have in this business, what's your employee utilization rate, or what's your return on assets, right? What's your cost uh, to acquire new clients, what your customer lifetime value, right? You need to understand some of these really key building blocks for any kind of business. And of course, each industry would have their own industry specific, okay, industry specific KPIs that only applies to that industry. But my friend, the bottom line is you need to have KPIs and you need to monitor them. So from here, how do we move forward? What do we do now? And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna invite you, right? If you don't have somebody, because I understand some of you folks even have CPAs or accountants or bookkeeper that compiles your information and just sends you a report and nothing else happened, right? But if you want somebody who you can have some of these hard conversations about your business, somebody who's not gonna be wavering about, telling you the hard truth, and helping you find, you know answer to some of these difficult questions, right? We're here and we want to be part of your team. We want to help you. We want to be there for you, and you can find our information here. I'm putting my contact information here. You can reach out to us at lcpaulo@yetuadvisory.com, or you can send a text message requesting for a meeting at 773-937-1264. I hope this was enlightening for you. And if this live or webinar benefited you in any way or fashion, don't hesitate to follow us on our social media page, and more importantly, share with other business owners who can benefit from this. I hope this was great for you. God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day. Again, I'm gonna say my goodbye now. I hope to hear from some of you. I'll see you next week, same time.